Does Aion 2 actually have a shot at being good, or is NCSoft setting us up for another letdown? Over the weekend, Aion 2 held its first focus group test behind closed doors in South Korea, and while it was all under NDA, that hasn't stopped leaks from flooding the community. Today I'm breaking down what testers saw, what surprised them, and the early red flags that already have some players worried, including major insights into content, PvP, monetization, combat, class design, and much more. This info comes from trusted community members and KakaoTalk groups, but as always, take public impressions with a grain of salt. I'd like to say a massive thank you to Yevi and fellow graphics, as well as everyone involved in the Aion 2 community Discord, which is linked below, for doing the heavy lifting, reaching out to testers, collecting feedback, translating posts, all of which made this video possible. Now, let's get right into it. The build testers played on was reportedly around 2 or 3 months old, giving them access to one of the most current version of the game. If there's one thing all testers agreed on, it's that the world looked visually stunning, and surprisingly, it matched what we saw in the trailers. Despite being cross-platform, the gameplay felt like it was a PC-first experience. Some testers even emphasized that it doesn't feel like a mobile port, but instead has the polish and depth of a traditional desktop title. However, when it came to the user interface, testers admitted it felt very mobile-like. Some even compared it to Tron and Liberty's UI and agreed it would need further work before release. UI elements like HP bars, party frames, and casting effects still needed polishing. A few testers also pointed out the lack of transparent map, at least in the version they played. The developers responded that the UI shown during the test was not final and could still change before the official release. Aion 2 runs on Unreal Engine 5, so high visual fidelity is expected, especially from NCSoft, a company known for delivering visually stunning games with strong artistic direction. So how did the game perform during the tests? Participants reported that the game runs smoothly with no major FPS drops, even in crowded areas, or at least as crowded as a focus group test can get. The test was conducted on PCs equipped with RTX 5070 GPUs, but developers reportedly confirmed they're aiming to optimize the game for older systems, including rigs with RTX 2070 or similar level of hardware. Character customization was another feature that received unanimous praise from testers. True to Aion's legacy, it offered a highly detailed system with plenty of options to choose from. However, as we saw with the Chrono Odyssey closed beta test, that level of freedom can be both a blessing and a curse. It allows for greater player expression, but also opens the door to some truly vile and immersion-breaking designs.
Alright, let's see if you render. Hilarious!
One area that did fall short was the character outfits. Many testers felt they were underwhelming. Why does that matter? We'll get into that later in the video. Now, on to one of the more important topics: combat and classes. Aion 2 will feature all 8 original classes: Templar, Gladiator, Cleric, Chanter, Assassin, Ranger, Sorcerer, and of course the Spirit Master. Each class has a distinct role and a unique set of abilities. Testers noted that group content, especially dungeons, relies heavily on dedicated healers and tanks. This points to a return to the classic Holy Trinity party system: healers, tank, and DPS. Unlike the original Aion, however, weapon swapping is no longer a feature. Each class is now locked to a single weapon type. Most of the original class skills have been converted into passives. That said, testers confirmed there are still plenty of active abilities to choose from, allowing for build variety. Players can equip up to 4 regular skills and 4 stigma skills on their hotbar, with Q and E keys used for special actions, alongside the left and right mouse buttons. In total, 12 active skills are accessible at once. Chain attacks are also present, further expanding each class's toolkit. Players will be able to build their characters around offense, defense, or utility. Mana potions won't be a thing. Instead, mana regenerates naturally over time or through auto attacks. That means mana management will be essential. Positioning also plays a big role in Aion 2. Attacking enemies from behind deals increased damage, making movement and dodging more important than ever. In addition, every class will have a skill that removes crowd control effects. Testers also mentioned that these CC break skills can be chained into specific follow-up abilities. Animations such as movement, jumping, dodging are unique to each class, adding more personality and immersion to how each one plays. During the tests, Ranger turned out to be the most popular pick thanks to its high damage and beautiful skill animations. Gladiator, on the other hand, received the most criticism. Testers described its gameplay as slow and clunky with low damage and unimpressive animations. Clerics didn't leave much of an impression either. While the class acts as the main healer and offers solid utility with decent damage, many felt its design was outdated. Its healing focused more on raw AoE output than reactive single-target support, and with most heals having no cast time, the gameplay felt less engaging. The Chanter, however, was a pleasant surprise. Testers reported its damage was much higher than expected, making it a viable hybrid between support and DPS, and also its skills were themed around nature, trees, vines, and similar elements. Perhaps the biggest improvement was the Templar. Testers praised its mobility, strong toolkit, and satisfying gameplay, especially when it came to pulling targets. The Spirit Master also stood out. Testers enjoyed its fun, dynamic playstyle and highlighted the unique visual design of the summons, which, according to reports, could reach the size of raid bosses. Sorcerers didn't disappoint either. Their flashy, over-the-top skills focused on fire and ice, and despite having long cast times, their spells hit hard and made a huge impact on the battlefield. Finally, the Assassin turned out to be one of the highest burst damage dealers in the game. Back attacks dealt massive damage, likely due to a mix of class passives and the default rear attack bonus. Overall, the combat system was praised as dynamic and fast-paced, living up to the promise of a true action combat MMO. The game will also offer two camera modes: Action Mode, a console-style over-the-shoulder view, however, its limited visibility makes it less ideal for large-scale raids, and a Traditional Mode, a classic MMORPG camera with click targeting. Testers found this one better suited for PvP and large-scale battles thanks to its wider field of view and easier control. Leveling experience in Aion 2 was described as quite easy with a level cap of 45. One tester even mentioned that he reached level 28 within 4 hours, and that is while taking their time and exploring everything. The quests themselves were considered very basic, lacking depth or variety. Most of them involved simple tasks like talking to NPCs or hunting specific monsters. That said, players noted that each NPC had their own storyline brought to life through cinematic cutscenes, which helped make the narrative feel more immersive and engaging. As for the world of Atrea, it was described as massive. Each region featured its own unique weather and lighting, creating a vivid and dynamic atmosphere. Some testers said Aion 2's world design reminded them a lot of Terra, with a few even jokingly calling it Terra 2. Underwater content is also in the game, allowing players to fight enemies and gather resources beneath the surface. And yes, there is a breath meter to manage while exploring underwater. NCSoft has placed a strong emphasis on exploration with hidden dungeons, rich landscapes, and level scaling zones that help keep other areas relevant, similar to Guild Wars 2. Pre-flight was also available across all maps. While convenient for travel, it drew criticism for negatively impacting combat. Testers pointed out that the players could simply fly away to avoid PvP, which made encounters less meaningful. Mounts are also available to help players explore the world. They come in different styles, but testers felt they didn't have much impact during the tests. You could obtain mounts by collecting fragments dropped by monsters throughout the world. I also have to mention that autopathing was also available. Aion 2 is built around 4-player content, a shift from the large-scale raids of Aion 1. Dungeons are packed with mechanics that testers said felt similar to Lost Ark, making boss fights more challenging and engaging than in the original game. And yes, there will be a ranking system. There are also secret dungeons scattered across the map, much like in Diablo. Some dungeons and subquests even reward players with stat-boosting titles like increased attack power or HP, giving an extra incentive to explore and complete side content. The dungeons were described as pretty tough, so much so that players often had to use the self-resurrection stone, which could be bought in the premium shop. And so far, it doesn't seem they have any limitations. They have no cooldowns, and you can use them as many times as you want. That brings me to perhaps the biggest red flag about Aion 2, the energy system. Yes, Aion 2 will feature an energy system, similar to what we've seen in games like Throne and Liberty, Blade and Soul, and Crystal of Atlan. And yes, players will be able to purchase extra entries through the premium shop. On a more positive note, Aion 2 will feature a rich gathering and crafting system with quick, streamlined interactions. Materials can be used to craft cosmetics, gear, or even earn in-game currency known as Kina. Players can also farm Kina through mobs and side activities. For those eager to jump into PvP, Aion 2 will offer 1v1 arenas with a potential 4 vs 4 mode also in the works. Gear won't be equalized, however, so progression will matter. The main PvP zone is the Abyss, a cross-server battlefield filled with activities and incentives to keep players engaged. While the game is shifting away from massive PvP raids, it leans heavily into party-based PvP. That said, the Abyss will still feature field bosses for large-scale encounters. However, testers weren't satisfied with how PvP worked in Aion 2. It felt underwhelming compared to other content, which they found much more fun and engaging. Gear will be enchantable, and additional stats can be added using gems. Fortunately, players won't lose progress if the enchant fails, only the required materials will be consumed. There hasn't been an official announcement yet about Aion 2's monetization model, but current rumors suggest it will be free to play with a premium shop and battle passes. No surprise there. The good news, player-to-player trading will be available and it won't be locked behind premium currency, unlike what we've seen in Throne and Liberty. NCSoft claims their monetization will focus on cosmetics and battle passes, and they've promised to avoid gacha elements.
You serious?
Here's the thing. During the test, players said the cosmetics available in the shop looked unfinished or low effort, which raises the question, if cosmetics are supposed to be a major revenue stream, why do they look so rough? Is it just because they're still work in progress, or is something else being quietly saved for later? There is the other red flag. For example, the resurrection stones, which can be purchased with the premium currency and currently have no cooldown, meaning players could, in theory, revive endlessly, giving them a serious advantage in both PvE and PvP. Even worse, the game has an energy system. That's right, every dungeon or activity consumes action points, and once those are gone, you're either done for a day or you're paying up. And yes, energy refills are sold in the shop. Personally, I can't stand these kind of systems. They punish the player for simply wanting to play more, and in my opinion, they turn the game into a chore unless you're willing to swipe.
Hey fellas, look what I found in my pocket. Look, a year's salary right here. What I call them? Fun coupons.
From what we've seen so far, there is real potential here. A strong class system, fast-paced combat, beautiful visuals, and a world that actually feels like someone cared about building it. Most testers were left with a very positive impression of the game during the testing, but I'd be lying if I said the red flags weren't concerning. We've all been burned before by pay-to-win the shop, energy systems, and games that launch with promises and die with excuses. And with NCSoft's track record, the real question is whether they'll stick to the landing or follow in the same pattern we've seen time and time again, adding another game to the massive MMO graveyard. If they can deliver a game that respects players' time and wallets while bringing back the classic Aion feel with modern design, this could actually be something special. But until then, we wait, we watch, and we keep our expectations in check. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you hyped, skeptical, or just plain tired of the MMO circus? And if you found this video helpful, drop a like, subscribe, and I'll keep you posted as we get closer to launch. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.